One thing that's fascinating linked into that, Gay, and it's a I've had the fortune to read more about what you've described here, but one thing I want to pick up on, you talk about kindness, and I think we can all embed that. One thing you do pick up on is this fear aspect um, of understanding, I think is the term that you use. And I know you've got a saying that you use, which I'd like you to share, but that's something in our lives and in the workplace. It's kind of a fear that comes from a chemical at the back of the brain that says I'm uncomfortable. But I'd like to hear it from you, Gay, on that particular aspect, because it can be a habit. Yeah, fear can be a habit, and I'm guessing, but I'd like to hear your view. How do you get out of that? How do you build on that? How do you become a better habitual person that reduces fear?
I'm glad you bring this up because there's so much work around this with implicit bias and how and it is truly a chemical thing. I mean, a lot of folks who do the work that I do will say, we can get over that, but there is some biology there as well. And so, how do you deal with those very human biological things that signal difference and signal, uh-oh, I don't think this is a good conversation for me, so I'm going to shut it down. Usually that fear usually comes, I heard this saying that um, anger is sadness's bodyguard. And kind of how fear works too, is I think it's a bodyguard for something else, for another part somewhere. And a lot of coaches and consultants will say this when they do kind of organizational culture and stuff. And it's very true. So if we understand that, then a lot of times people would say, well, the last thing you should do is just sort of be selfish and pay attention to just what you're feeling. You should just try to extend yourself and be kind to people no matter what you're feeling. But actually, you can't be genuinely that way if you don't deal with what it is you are feeling fear about. Now, does that mean that if you feel fear about something and you've sort of internalized it your whole life that you should go to therapy for 10 years so that you can deal with this one issue in the workplace? No, it really means being easier on yourself, I think, first, and saying, I feel fear, like, and this isn't everybody's like bag, but I recognize it. So what does that require? Slowing down. It requires slowing down. And I think this is part of the culture of work that we've developed in these developed countries, is that it's next thing, next thing, next thing, always strategically thinking, oh, wait, but slow down a little bit. And we're going to get all of that done. In fact, what we find is that with slowing down, we get more done. So if we just slow down, just a pause and say, this is really bringing up something for me here. I don't have the answers right now, but I'm going to try to figure it out, and I'll be back in 30 minutes, or I'll be back in a day, or can you help me understand where you're coming from? And a lot of times people just lack the basic vocabulary to say that. It's not just about the feeling, but it's like, there is another option here. I could shut down and be angry, but then I could also say, let me repair that. I think some harm was done. If I can improve, I would really appreciate you letting me know. And even if it just pains you to say it, and you feel like you're compromising everything as a CEO, just understand that if your bottom line is productivity, then taking it a little bit more slowly, making space for other people to feel seen and heard, means also that you know that you're seeing and hearing yourself.